Hi, everybody, for our ongoing adventure in Chassidut. So, just a heads up that today is going to be the last session till after Pesach, okay? Because it's the last Thursday before I leave, and then we'll start up again Bezrat Hashem when I get back after Pesach. So don't go away for too long because we're gonna begin again. Okay, let's just do a very quick review of what we discussed yesterday in Parakhet. By the way, those of you who were in my shiur last night, you can also participate. It's archived in YouTube, the Rabbi Joel's F YouTube channel, completing with Fox. It's amazing, giving a run for their money. So it was just amazing how the themes completely dovetailed, even though they were dealing with different issues, the topic, but the underlying issues were amazing, the synchronicity. So we talked yesterday about the relationship between the Sfirot in the process of creation. So we talked about that in the Olam HaTohu. So the Sfirot had each their own independent identity, but in a way in which each Sfirah was utterly disconnected from each other Sfirah, okay? And then each Sfirah feels itself, as it were. Sfirah is not a person to feel, but right? Each Sfirah sees itself as its only existence, and it's in a kind of disconnected from all the other Sfirot. So that's Olam HaTohu. It's in Olam HaTohu that Shvirat HaKelim took place at the shattering of the vessels. And then the Olam HaTikun, that's the world in which we exist, in which we are trying to repair. So in Olam HaTikun, the Sfirot also have their individual identity, except for because of Bitul, because of self-abnegation. So there is a realization that, in fact, each Sfirah is interconnected with all the other Sfirot. Okay, every Sfirah actually has every other Sfirah inside of it, okay? And we also talked about, and this was such a fascinating idea, that the concept of Bitul actually exists in both worlds. In Olam HaTohu, where it's a crisis, right? Where each Sfirah sees itself as disconnected. There's a kind of Bitul, there's a kind of self-negation in that. And there's also a Bitul in Olam HaTikun. But one Bitul is actually not healthy in a vacuum. And then the other Bitul is the solution to the problem. So the Bitul which takes place in the Olam HaTohu is the Bitul of, and we had these two terms we learn, Ratzo and Shov. So Ratzo is the impulse to not be part of the world of physicality, right? You want to get out of there and go upstairs to your source, okay? So that's the world of Ratzo, right? That as expressed in the soul, it's, I don't want to be around here, right? I don't want to be God's servant, because that's the idea of being down here, right? That we work for God, okay? And Ratzo is, I'm out of here. I just want to have the ecstatic, pleasurable experience of being in communion with God, not a soul imprisoned in this body. Okay, so that's Ratzo. We talked about how that is, in fact, the impulse that our society is so hedonistic and so narcissistic, and how it's expressed itself in many religions, including in Judaism, the distortion that's taken place of New Age, where you have, I want the spirituality without the commitment. Right?
I'm spiritual. I get to do whatever I want.
That's Ratzo, right? I just want to have this feel-good state of communion as if it could be achieved, right? Yeah. But I don't want to live in a world of commitment and do what I'm supposed to be doing. So that's Bitul. Just hang on a second. And then, but the true Bitul, which takes place in Olam HaTikun, is where we nullify ourselves, accept upon ourselves the responsibility of working for God, and we nullify ourselves in terms of feeling ourselves to be some kind of independent thing which has no connection with other things, and thereby see that we are all interconnected. Another way I thought about it, I didn't share it with you yesterday, but I wrote it in my notes on the side here. I said you could use the term a verbal Bitul versus a horizontal bitul. So ratzo is a kind of vertical bitul, like it's me and spirituality, where horizontal bitul is to the bitul with regards to this world, right? And the other things that exist in that world. Yes, sir. Just speak super loud so that the microphone will pick you up and so you'll be broadcast throughout the entire cosmos.
Don't be nervous.
I was wondering if perhaps idol worship is a distorted version of Ratzo. Like you start by wanting to go up to Hashem, but then you decide, okay, I want to control a god or gods, and I wonder if that's where it came from. That was because it was a great desire for idol worship.
Yeah, that's a really good question. As you're asking, I'm trying to see if it registers, if it makes sense in my brain. So I would say the following. One thing is for sure that emerges from this is that in a certain weird sense, all negative behavior is coming from some type of spiritual impulse. In other words, there actually is sort of like a kernel of good that got all bent and distorted and everything. And why is it that idolatry was so massively popular and almost a natural instinct? So I think one aspect of this, as you mentioned before, is that you want to have a sense of control. So idolatry has this idea of I can do all kinds of weird things, voodoo. And if I just like placate the god of this or placate the god of that, then I can control somehow my sense of insecurity in the world. So, I'm having a little bit of a hard time connecting that with the idea of bitul. I want to escape my body and just be a spirit. I'm having a little time making that connection. But I think there is some kind of spark of recognizing our own limitation and ultimate helplessness, and kind of making a leap that maybe there's something outside of myself. Of course, the distortion of idolatry is maybe that thing is a tree or the sun or something like that. Okay, so fine. Let's go back now into the text, and we're going to finish off this chapter Be'ezrat Hashem today. So at least we'll have a clean break for the break. Okay, so we're in the middle of chapter 8, and where he says, it's right after the parentheses. All that Kabbalistic discussion was in the parentheses. It's only for the stout of heart, which we are. V'zeu sibat ha'perud v'yitchalkut. Everything we discussed so far is the Kabbalistic anatomy, the explanation on a deep level of what is the underlying reason for division and divisiveness in society. V'zeh inyan klipat midyan. That's the whole idea of the klipa, the forces of concealment and evil represented by Midyan. Remember, all the way back. That's what we're going to talk about. Why is it Moshe fought against Midyan? Shehu hamadon v'ariv. The word Midyan itself means quarrel. The forces of quarrel. V'sinat chinam ish l'rehu. The baseless hatred. Gam kishalo asalo shum ra'a klal. What's amazing about the forces of the klipa of Midyan is that even when the person actually does not represent any threat, they do not actually do anything which harms you, no rational issue there. V'lo naga b'chol asher lo, the person is not taking anything away from you. Lo davar v'chatzi davar, nothing and not even half of a thing. V'gam hu eino choresh ra'a alav klal, the person is not plotting against you anything. So what's the problem?
Exists.
It's just that I can't stand their existence, as Rabbeinu Zev just said. And yet I hate this person. B'tachlit. Tachlit means absolutely. Because there's no more absolute hatred than the hatred of your mere existence. So that's interesting. There's anti-Semitism. Mm-hmm. There's like different forms of anti-Semitism. Mm-hmm. So there's a kind of rationalized anti-Semitism, which the church practiced for 2,000 years, which is basically, I got nothing against you personally, it's just that darn religion. But you know what? You can convert, as it were,
Yeah.
right? And there were church officials that were Jewish. There was a famous debate between, there's actually a good movie made about this called, I forgot what it's called now. I thought it was called The Quarrel or something. That's a different movie maybe. The Ramban, Nachmanides. They used to make the Jews all come into a church and listen to a debate between a rabbi and a priest.
Yeah,
So the
yeah,
priest
yeah,
could
yeah.
prove that the truth is
The
with,
priest was a Jew.
yeah, the priest happened to be a Jew. It was a Jew
Yeah.
debating a Jew.
Sure.
Yeah.
So this priest, his name was Pablo Cristiani.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pablo
Very
Cristiani.
Yeah.
Cristiani. That was his name he took.
Cute.
His name really was Seymour Bernstein. Okay, he was from Brooklyn, but he became a Christian, and so so that's a kind of rationalized anti-Semitism. Like, you know, I don't have any problem against you. It's just what you think. But then there's Hitler, or there's Haman, right?
Right.
That's the same thing.
It's-
So it's just, I don't care. You can every religion you want to. You can speak perfect German. You can be the best and the brightest of German culture, but your mere existence is
It's
intolerant.
almost sociopathic. I mean,
Yeah, that is sociopathic. The problem is that we, in a certain sense, it's a problem. This is how scary this is. You know, that we have like a certain kind of Hitler in us. That's what's so scary. I even to say those words.
Sure.
This idea of the
No,
inability to tolerate the mere existence of somebody else. Ad shelo yachol ledaber imo v'lo litarev imado b'shum davar. To the extent that a person cannot speak to the other person, cannot be involved with that person in any way, even when it comes to holiness. See, now he's going to allude to something which is massive. The Rebbe Rashab, who wrote this, so he died in 1920. He was the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe. He lived in Russia. Now, you're living in Russia, and you're the leader of a very important group of Jews, the Lubavitcher Hasidim, and plus, I'm sure he didn't feel himself that he was just, oh, I'm the rabbi of this particular group. He's a leader for the Jewish people, right? Can you imagine what that was like? As a matter of fact, we can't, because we're very blessed to live in a country which, in a historical context, is so freedom and tolerance, etc. Russia, in the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century, the unbelievable chaos of the Russian revolutions, the Tsarist government towards the end of the 19th century and beginning of the 20th century, there was a war between Russia and Japan. Jews were drafted by the thousands.
Mhm.
Nice Jewish boys had to go fight against.
Right.
Unbelievable. And so the world is completely turned up on its head, utter chaos. And now you would think that the Jewish people, the leadership would say, we got to do something about this. We got to get together and work together on behalf of the klal. And that's not what happened. Even when it came to matters of kedusha, of things that are holiness of the Jewish people, how to be able to preserve Yiddishkeit in a very threatening environment where all kinds of revolutions and isms of every sort, external isms, internal isms that threaten the purity of Torah. And let's see what we can do to fortify ourselves in this situation. Two Jewish leaders couldn't talk to each other, even something of such crucial importance. V'hasibal, that was the reason for this. Hurach mitzad yeshut shelo. It's because every Jewish leader was, I'm going to use a term, full of himself, and that's really the term yeshut. To feel yourself full of yourself. Right? That only I exist. Right? Nobody else exists. There's no room for anybody else. There's no room for anybody else. And therefore, a person feels oppositional to him. Your mere existence bothers me. Your mere existence is threatening my existence. It makes me suck in my gut. I don't want to do that. Because this, I can't tolerate your existence. For I hate you. All the more so, I can't join with you in any kind of mutual cause in order to do some good for the Jewish people. B'chol mekomot moshvot b'nei Yisrael. Now he says he gets down to reality, just like we find because of our many sins in contemporary history. Wherever Jews live, sheyesh chilukei deot b'chol davar. We're quarreling with each other on every single thing. Ubechol inyan minyanim klalim, even things that have to do with the klal, our existence as a community. Why can't we get our act together and talk to each other? And we're not talking about sitting next to your neighbor in shul. That's a different problem. I'm talking about public policy issues in terms of the Jewish people. Like it deals with issues dealing with rabbis, vashoktim, and ritual slaughters. All these things organized in the Jewish community was constant fights. I know this never happens anymore. Fire the rabbi, hire the rabbi, this rabbi against that rabbi, this shochet, I don't trust his kashrut, and that shochet is no good, and this shochet against that shochet, and we shecht our rabbis. I put the two together. Binyanei Beit HaKnesset, how to run a shul and the division of shuls and all this kind of stuff. We can't get our act together to be as one. Adarabba. It's even worse than that. What? Not that we can't even cooperate, but you say X, I say Y. You build, I destroy. What's the reason for this? It's that internal Kabbalistic reason of Yeshus. Only I exist. The fact that I disagree with you, see, we always pretend like we have a reason. There's always a rationale. There's always an excuse. But you know what? All of that rationalization, it's baloney. It's not being dictated by really any rational reason. It's because of willfulness. And the reason I say X is not because my brain says X is the right thing. It's because you said Y. You say, why say X? And then we make up a reason for it. It's all stemming from that deeper psychopathic absorption with oneself in which I exist and nothing else exists. Your mere existence threatens me and bothers me. Therefore, we can't tolerate each other. And that's why we oppose each other. And that's why our Jewish communal interests are being lost. You know, the Jewish people's mere existence is being threatened. Mm-hmm. And we can't deal with it. Why? Because I can't talk to anybody else. Because your mere existence bothers me. And we don't see it at all. Because the only thing I see is me. I can't see past my own nose. Because reality ends right here. Well, that's kind of a downer way to end our discussion for a few weeks, but that's the way it ends. Signing off until after Pesach, wishing everybody a Chag Kasher V'Sameach. Everybody should have a wondrously proper and joyous Pesach. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank
Well, you